I delivered this last week at IDLC, which is a conference for curriculum developers and designers for MICS institutions. Hence the blended in there. But really the focus is about enhancing that experience in your discussion boards. I'm Seth Robbins. I'm a curriculum developer here, but I also teach mission prep online. So I'm trying to take my own medicine, I guess. Sometimes it doesn't taste like it. We've seen this video before. This stars our very own Jim Crossman right here. So I'll give you some background to this. As a developer, I work mostly with on-campus classes, and I very rarely develop online courses. But I've noticed that on-campus faculty, when it comes to the online realm, a lot of them, I've realized they don't know what they don't know. And what they don't know is that the online realm, yeah, welcome, come on in. What the on-campus faculty don't realize in a hybrid course is that an online discussion board doesn't just take care of itself. There's a couple of key factors. And after several semesters of trying to explain, hey, you need to be involved, you need to give them feedback, and it not happening. And certainly I'm not laying blame to anyone, I'm just noticing these trends. There came this inspiration for this video. So I'm going to go halfway through. We have Brother Crossman, who is not nearly as bumbling as he is in this video. He's a great guy. But we have this classroom, online discussion, basically. And so that's the context of this. So real classroom, but online discussion. And here he is posting the question that they're supposed to discuss. So let's we'll watch this.
I would have migrated to colonial America because I would seek freedom from oppression.
I would have migrated because the abandonment of family would have prevented me from such an act.
I agree.
I agree.
Thanks.
I believe I need more information before I can reasonably respond, huh? Where are you from? What social demographic do I come from, huh?
So Jim loves pie. That's where his focus is, right?
Five months left, it's time. This is my chance to shine.
I believe the color yellow is used to represent cowardice.
I thought that the color lemon was used to represent a lack of bravery.
I believe that's what I just said, Jerry.
Wow, great insight. I would have never thought of this.
I agree.
It reminds me of a time in my life when I was in a similar situation as King Richard.
Great comment, Blade.
You guys were so awesome. I learned so much.
Good. I wouldn't want to be doing anything else in the whole wide world.
I agree.
Smiley face. LOL.
That was awesome. A's for everyone.
Great comment.
Sorry, boys. Okay. For obvious reasons previously stated, I would migrate.
I agree.
All right. Obviously, this is a caricature of what happens, but I think there's enough truisms, right, in the online discussion forum that we can see there. Tell me about what's going on here between the instructor and the students and the students and the students. Any observations? Yes, Susan.
The instructor is not involved at all. I mean, like, mostly he's like, well, what's your job? Take care of it.
Yeah. Yeah. And he's loving life, right?
Yeah.
He's guzzling his tiki punch and he's having his pie and everything's great.
And that seems appalling, but I'm actually letting that happen this week because I've been in the thing like, I'll be okay. They'll just like get out the discussion board. And now I'm like, okay, I need to do my job.
Yeah. So what does that say about your role as an instructor then in this online forum?
Am I being lazy?
I'm just saying the importance of you leave the discussion.
Yeah, guiding the discussion and keeping it, trying to get it deeper and trying to keep it within the frame of what we're talking about.
Yeah, excellent. Yes. Brian, you were saying
I tend to look at it partially as being a forum moderator. I've been participating in forums since I was a teenager. And when you're a forum moderator, you have to check in on that forum every single day. It isn't as immediate and pressing as a classroom situation, but it's something that every day, possibly even several times a day, you check in on that and you make sure that things are going the way they ought to.
Yeah, excellent. So, yes, in the back here. Stacey.
Kind of on the other side of that, though, I piloted the course and they kind of gave me this advice, the curriculum designer and the course lead, that they don't want too much involvement from the instructor either. So there needs to be a balance, and I probably need to do more of being more involved.
Yeah. So that's what we're going to discuss today. You can see the instructor. He makes the mistake of assuming that all this little chatter, like a bunch of little chipmunks, he's thinking, oh, this is so great, I love what's happening. And the comments were hardly substantial. You have one guy that stands up and says the color yellow represents great cowardice. How does that have to do with migrating to America? And some girl makes basically the same comment, and he responds back, and she could not even care less, right, about what he's saying. So then you have some lady who says that when she was in a similar situation as King Richard, I mean, how many of us have ever been in that situation in life? Right, so really the travesty at the end of this whole thing, we have a lack of instructor involvement. Students are it's just a series of just meaningless monologues, right? And then at the end, the travesty of the whole thing is that at the end, the instructor says, great job, everyone, A's for everyone. Right? So all he's done is saying, look, all this meaningless dribble that you've been doing, max credit for that. And so us as humans, kind of like this river, that takes the path of least resistance, what's the minimal effort that I can give and still get max credit? Well, he's just said, whatever you just did, keep doing it because A's for everyone, right? So a lot of us, when it comes to the online discussion board, this is old hat, right? We hear these things from our students all the time. It's a waste of time, ineffective, everybody hates it, busy work. Have you heard, you can even put your own adjective in there, right? Have you heard this set before from your students? Right? So they hate it, right? They hate the online discussion board. But to that I'd say, well, what if, I would say, in geriatric parlance, right? What about the Facebook, right? Or the Twitter, right? No one ever says that. They love these, right? So what is it about social media that they love online discussions, but what is it about educational forums, or ours anyway, that they don't like? Let's parent share, okay? So let's take 37 seconds and parent share. What's the difference here? What do you like? Mike, would you mind getting closer to someone else? Even over Stacy or whoever.
Yeah, it's actually just like the last class. I got to ask questions.
One thing, they choose their topics, right? And they choose their topics, they choose the lead, and they choose who they want to teach. And they choose who they want to interact. Yeah, they don't have to. It's like saying you this person.
It seemed like it was.
And now talk about this. I think it's worse than what you're
Because otherwise you have
like my course, discussion boards, it's really on topic. Specific course questions. It's not designed to throw out a discussion question. Well, I think it's not history class. My students in math classes, I try to get them.
Raise your hand if you need more time. Need more time? Yeah, let's take another 20 seconds.
Yeah, so subjective versus objective. Math. So, but there are ways to help.
Actually, no, this is, I try to focus on what algorithms you use to show this subject matter. And that's very.
That's true. I could keep, like, we have
Same
one
thing.
module, so we have like
Computers,
storage
right?
module, but then
Well, what I do
maybe
is
I don't think it works other.
use a seed to discuss some topic.
You guys change it up.
I throw in each week, so I just comment on this. Gender versus. And that works pretty well in terms of.
I mean,
One of
sorry, we're
the-
gonna Oh, so I just did the same the whole semester.
Okay, let's wrap it up. And I hate to end the discussion. Let's wrap it up here and then circle the wagons again. What is it about social media that people enjoy, and what is it that maybe we're missing online? I heard some discussions here. Sorry, yes.
The connection with people. They don't feel connected to their classmates and stuff. They don't care. They don't care about your opinion.
Okay. Yeah, Facebook. Who has Facebook? I won't ask you if you use it. Jim, he's the outlier. Yeah. He's the lone ranger. So we have Facebook. Who are our Facebook friends, people?
The ones that I've met already.
Yeah. So you have relationships with these people, right? Friends, family, right? And then other people that, okay, we'll be friends, but mostly friends and family, right? And who are the people that you respond to? They're usually friends and family, right? Again, you have maybe that other group, and they're just in your feed. Maybe you hide them. Maybe you unfriend them years later because they won't know this. But that's not what we're talking about, right? So connection. Yes, thank you so much. Margaret, Stacey, what did you talk about?
The content is different. So on Facebook, it's just fun. It's something you already know a lot about. Whereas on the online discussion forums, it's maybe something that you're not really familiar with. You don't feel comfortable having an authoritative voice.
Okay.
Finding with them.
Yeah, so the content drives motivation. And at the same time, we talk about the same things in Facebook that we do in online courses, right? Religion, politics, social issues. Right, you look at anyone, you have those friends. I know that Carol and I certainly have friends and family that they have all sorts of interesting things that they say about a lot of stuff. And we usually just kind of observe and just, okay, just push that up the line. Anyway, this group right here. Jim, Ryan, Mike, what do you think?
We've talked about most of those things. You get to choose who you talk to, and you get to choose what you talk about. The online forum is kind of like what we're doing here, only now we can't do it face to face, and we have this added barrier of technology.
Okay, all right.
Well, the other thing too is I think we were talking about some of us teach subjects that don't lend themselves to discussion type topics. So what I do in my class is I put a seed question at each week.
Okay.
That they have to address during the week.
Okay.
That generally is more gospel related than course related. And then from a moderator standpoint, I really pay attention to the teach one another aspects to make sure they're not teaching false information to each other.
Yeah, right. Right, but that's what a good moderator does, right? We have a hand over here, I think.
I think sometimes, especially with females, they're afraid of looking like they're too smart, or they don't want other people to think that they're being bossy, or you know what I mean, or like too intelligent about something.
Okay. Yep.
And that's sad. And that's something we need to figure out.
Okay, so yeah, maybe some
too smart.
Inhibitions, right? Sure, guys. A lot of what you talked about, I've asked a lot of colleagues, observations from students, asking students, other instructors, and I've hit on a couple of things, and by no means is this exhaustive. It's not meant to be, but here's, I think, a couple of the important variables that we could consider, right? Facebook, there's motivation there, right? And motivation is, I think, driven in part by validation. I post something on Facebook. How many of us are curious when we see notifications about what people have said about it, right? How many go like almost immediately and say, oh, I wonder what people have said? Or you put a picture up there and you see that a lot of people like your picture, or they say things about your picture. Doesn't that validate you? Like, oh, what I'm saying, that actually matters to people. And what they're saying, that makes me feel like what I put on there is important to them, and it's important to me that the people I care about are responding. Right? So this validation. The other thing that you talked about is relations. So validation, motivation, and relationships. I couldn't really make it work. Anyway, but relationships are also really important. Right? And if we're feeling kind of a dearth of any sort of relation to both the instructor and our students, then what's that doing? Right? We have Brother Postman's online discussion. Sorry, Jim. Jim doesn't really do that. So anyway, so this is kind of this cycle, I think, that helps to increase motivation for us to come to the table, the smorgasbord, the discussion board, as it were, and participate. Yes?
Just experientially, the students that come from Pathway or from previous classes into my class and already know somebody in the class do a lot better on the discussion boards when they're with that person they already know.
So good point. And segue into the next point. So how do we foster this sense of relationship in the classroom? As you mentioned, and we've talked about this before, so teacher to student, student to teacher, how do we foster that? Let's talk about this, okay? Last week, we were in Salt Lake. We visited the Pathway site in Taylorsville. And this is a parable, what did I call this? The parable of the unknown instructor, right? Is it Stacy in the back? Would you mind reading that for us, please?
Recently, a Pathway student remarked that she felt incapable of giving a proper midterm evaluation of her instructor because she did not know her instructor either, had she heard from her instructor all semester.
Okay. So let's not, we don't know what's happening with the instructor. Maybe, like you, the instructor is sending out email after email and saying, please, any response, who knows? So we don't know. There's a dearth of context there. But how does this make the student feel? Okay? Again, parents share. Let's take a couple seconds. You're the student. How do you feel if you don't know the instructor? Go ahead.
Okay, should put that okay.
Yeah.
And good.
Yeah.
Hurts. You see comments like that.
And it's something
Yeah, your question, don't.
particularly.
No, actually, I think this students, I think my instructor's been helpful.
Yeah.
I can't remember.
And honestly, especially since that student, yeah, students sometimes be an email issue. But we know this type of stuff. That's not what we're trying to do.
So again, let's bring it back together there. You're this student, what do you think? We had some good comments over here that I was listening to. How do you think?
They don't care.
Yeah.
It's a self-study course.
Yeah.
What's what I need an instructor.
Right. And if it's self-study, then why do I need this discussion board? Right? All of a sudden, it's a game that they don't want to play anymore because we've reduced it to that. It's not educational anymore. It's, oh, they don't care, so I don't care. And then at the end, when they get a grade, you know, it makes them angry if they don't do well because they think, well, how am I getting graded? You don't even care about this. This is meaningless. And then, right, we get those emails fired off in the middle of the night. Oh, you make me so angry, instructor so-and-so. Yes.
You look at some of the data, we've seen that if you do this early, this is not an endorsement, but you can really slack off later in the semester and you still do well by students. If you start off poor, you can become fabulous halfway through the semester and their mind has been set. They're, you know, that their disengagement has already happened and you've already lost them, right?
Do you remember the Perk Plus commercials from, you know, with like Andre Agassi when he used to have hair? He'd say you only have one chance to make a first impression, right? And the same is here, right? Early on, if we're really, really involved, the students are going to think, okay, we've set the tone, this is what it's like in this class, right? But if we don't, then, oh, okay, who slacks stays at home? Even if it's not that way, that's the impression you get. Thanks so much, Joe. Yes, right here, Susan.
Is there anything that can be done? And this is probably a stupid question, but it seems no matter like how involved I am with emails and notes from instructor, and I'm on the discussion board, and I'm in there, and I'm right there. There's always like one student who leaves feedback and says, "Well, I don't even know who you are, and you never did anything." And I'm like, well, is there always going to be that one kid in the class who's like,
yes. And there's usually more than one,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
And it's that principle of agency, right? Oh, you know, because I mean, if we're looking at outliers, right? No matter how terrible of a teacher you are, you're going to have those 5% that they'll be remarkable. And on the other side, no matter how wonderful a teacher you are, you might have those other students that they're not going to engage. But what we're talking about is how can we move everyone else in that bell curve towards a higher level of engagement, higher level of learning. And that's what we're doing. And what we're really talking about, and education as a whole, is we're not talking about objects, we're talking about people. This is a human business. And our relationships with those people is going to enhance their willingness to engage in the course. Mike, do you have a comment here?
Well, I was just to say, this kind of goes along with what Joel was saying. But one of the things I found fairly effective is to really be very, very over-engaged in the first week of the getting discussion, getting a point of discussion board. And, you know, I respond to every student, and it's something personal based on something they said. And I think that kind of sets a foundation for going forward.
So this is sage advice from the savvy veteran, Mike over here. But this semester, I've committed myself to do the same thing. And I'm not saying do that every week, right? But early on, that means, hey, I care about you and I want you to succeed. This is how we're going to do it. Right?
I found the same thing happens if it's not just a discussion board, but I hold an online class meeting, that they hear my voice and they have a chance to talk to one another or talk to me. Earlier on in the semester, the better that goes.
Yes, yes, excellent. And great segue, right, into hearing voices, right? Not like schizophrenic, I mean in like a really good, healthy, wholesome way. We talk about the Savior in the scriptures, and it says that the Savior's sheep, his flock, they know his voice, right? So if we're talking about stewards with our own flock within our jurisdiction of our class, I hope that they do know our voice, right? Today is, this isn't anything about strategies or whatever for like feedback or anything, just simply the notion of what we need to do to establish these relationships, validate these students, and increase motivation. So we're talking about the master teacher here, the Savior. And just, Heather, can you give us a brief summary about the parable of the 99 sheep and the lost one?
Well, just in relation to a shepherd and all of his sheep, and even though he knows where 99 of them are, which is by far the majority, he seeks out the lost one because he is precious to him. Everyone is precious.
Yeah, excellent. And when that shepherd finds the sheep, do we remember how the shepherd felt?
He was at home on his back rejoicing.
Yeah, he was so happy. Right? We've had this experience, right? The master instructor in an online class knows how to care for the 99 sheep, how to help them to feel that what they're doing is valuable. There's the notion that once I did bad and that I heard ever, but twice I did good and that I heard never. Sometimes we have a proclivity of students who are really successful, we think they're good, and I can focus on the one now. But sometimes even the good sheep that are doing well, they still need to have that touch every now and again. Yeah, I appreciate what you're doing. You've been doing great work all semester. Right? At the same time, going out for that one, and again, there's more than one, and sending out an email, hey, I've noticed you haven't been participating. Is there anything I should be aware of? We've had these experiences, right? We have all our own stories about seeking out the one, right? But let's keep our eye on the 99 as well and help them to feel like, I care about you. And again, I'm not saying we're not doing that. I think we're all doing that. But that's what a masterful teacher does, right, Jim?
Yeah, so this is just a slightly different take on that. So in the scriptures it says the 99 that needed no repentance. And I've yet to meet anyone who fits into that category.
Right.
So really every single person is the one.
Yeah. Yes. Right. We're talking, we've all been the one at one time, right? And now we're in a position to help those others who need just a little encouragement. Joy.
Just this last conference, I can't remember who gave the talk, but I talked about the part of the son talk, and how we realized that he was on the same journey that his sister was on. We're all prodigal sons and daughters in that story. And we're not the brother at home. We're all at some point on that journey. Needing that help.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. You remember Elder Hall a long time ago shared the same thing, how actually both sons were prodigal to a certain extent, like what you're saying as well, right? Because the one son, he went and squandered his living, but the other son, he was jealous of when he came home. Right? Anyway, so masterful teacher, right? pay attention to the 90 and 9 and look out for the 1. The other thing is to create opportunities, to encourage, to motivate your students. I like several different points of contact. So again, we do this, right? Feedback within the discussion board, right? We're engaging within those students. Sometimes I don't know how to do that equally. So this semester, again, I'm trying something new, experiment. I've got a good an Excel spreadsheet. I've got all my students' names in there, and I have all the weeks. And I'm charting the students that I'm taking the time to personally contact. So that way, it's systematic. I mean, I know that seems a little contrived, but I want to know that I can. These students I haven't, I want to know the students that maybe I haven't been giving as much attention to. So I don't know, we'll see. But that's just a thought in mind that I have. Another one is in your feedback, right, that you give them on the grades. And then finally, personal emails. Again, unsolicited. Hey, I appreciate what's going on, or hey, is there anything that I should be aware of? Here's an example. Yes, Joel.
The new LMS thing, I haven't been in there yet. Of course, I haven't talked to her yet. But I'm excited because they're anywhere you can type feedback. You can also record audio and record video. And I'm excited to connect in that area.
Wow. Good. Excellent, Jim.
Just one thing that we're going to start trying with our department. So when President Gilbert was brought here, he was given counsel by Elder Uchtdorf. One of the counsel was put your family before the students. And not just priority, but literally, as an example, we need to combat what's going on in the world today by showing good families, effective families. I think that's something that we can do in our classes too. Put our families before the students. Let them know what our challenges are, what our successes are, but we need to model and combat the anti-family movement.
Yeah, thanks. Good point. So an eye towards where we're creating discussions, how's maybe, if to the extent that the content lends itself, right? How's that content within some sort of familial context, right? I teach mission prep. This is really easy. I'll ask questions like, explain baptism as if you're going to explain it to your daughter or son that's about to turn 8 years old. Right? So getting them to think simplistic in terms of their explanations, right? Not using, Mormon catchphrase, every fiber of my being, and so on and so forth, right? Here's a couple of examples. I'll focus on this last one. This was a student of the 90 and 9. Jane, thank you for being in this class. I'm so pleased with your great efforts. Your testimony, sincerity, and enthusiasm will pay dividends for your companions, your investigators, your district members, the members you serve, and your mission president. There is no hyperbole in my words. You're going to be a humble and superior missionary in the Lord's service. Best for yourself. You receive an email. This is me. Okay, cat's out of there. Obviously, I wrote that. But and again, I'm not trying to say anything about me myself. But this is a real email that I sent. You're this student. How does this make you feel if you receive an email?
I know, and this was like in a person-to-person class. But when I had feedback like that from instructors when I was in college, I cherished that. Like, it means a lot to hear a professor tell you, hey, you are doing well, you have great things ahead of you. You hang on to that. And so that means a lot. And I think especially in an online setting where there isn't a lot of that interaction, to be able to have that.
Yes, exactly. And that was her response. We've got to trust that the good we do is having impacts even when it's not visible to us. So extending a kind word, even if you receive nothing back, some students might take that and think, oh, geez, that was so great. This was the case with her. Dear brother so-and-so, thank you so much for your email. I enjoyed your class so much, and I'm grateful to have a teacher like you to prepare me for the real mission experience. Your email made my day, and I love that you took the time to express your words of kindness. Thank you so much. So to me, actually getting that back from her, I thought, oh, we've connected, right? What you're talking about over here. We've established a good relationship, right? Healthy teacher-student relationship, but even still, she knows that I cared about her individually as a student. She was a great student. We're getting close on time. The sad tale, the discussion board tsunami, right? If we're not using groups, your students sitting there on the shoreline with the line in the water, and then here comes the wave, and bam, right? So that student, their discussion at the bottom of that tsunami they're sending it out into cyberspace, and they know no one cares about it. Not even the angels of heaven are recording this, because no one's seeing this. It'll never see the light of day again. And what does that do to them? They think, I don't want to play. I don't want to play the game. It's unfair. The stack's stacked against me, right? So, harness that small group, team-based learning, as Larry Mickelson talks about it, early on, right? Because you talked about, Ryan, those students who come from Pathway, they already know each other, right? So keeping it in smaller groups allows them, even if they're a little bit late to the discussion, to not feel like, oh, my discussion's not, what I post is not going to have any bearing on anything. No one cares. Yes, right.
Well, I had an experience with this for the last few semesters. We're trying group to group. We couldn't get a small group to work. We were assigning groups. So thought came to me when we started this semester, and I did it, and I'm amazed. The result is during the getting acquainted discussion board, the intro week, put a statement up the front, said, okay, in this class, we're going to have small groups. This is your week. This is your opportunity to self-select your group. Get to know the students. So I had 24 students in class, 20 of them self-selected into 5-person groups, and I made 4th one. But it's so much better because they chose themselves how to align. Some aligned based on geography, others because they knew each other from other class. All different reasons. But the point was they chose to be a group, and it really has been much better results.
Good. Yeah. Thanks so much. Yeah. I would. My only concern was those other 4. Would they feel like gym class and they're the last one picked?
But I tried to spend more time with them.
Yeah.
And get them gelled.
Yeah. And that's great. That's great. So I mean, again, another example of trying something new, right? Experimenting with the craft. Okay. I'm going to move on. Okay. We're going to talk about validation. You got a couple minutes. Okay. Have you ever heard of the Heinz dilemma? A man named Heinz has a scenario. His wife has a mortal illness, but the local pharmacist has developed the cure. It costs a lot of money. And Heinz can only come up with half the funds. So his dilemma is, do I steal this and save my wife's life, or do I not steal it and my wife dies? Well, he ultimately decides to steal it. Okay? Think about this for 10 seconds. Do you think that he was correct in his decision to steal it? Okay? And then we'll have a little bit of a discussion in 1 minute. Okay, number 1, yes, I agree, he should have stolen it. Number 2, no, he shouldn't have done it. Okay, on the count of 3, raise your hand with that sign. 1, 2, and 3. Okay. All right, number 1. So you agree. You agree. Why do you agree? Margaret? It's a matter of life. That's great. Yep. Anyone else? Brian?
The reason I chose number 1, I had a hard time committing. But the reason I chose number 1 is it's not just a matter of a life. That happens all the time. It's a matter of his wife. Okay. He prioritizes that relationship more than any other in his, hopefully, more than any other in his life. That's saying something.
Good job, smiley face. What's going on here?
I agree.
Margaret, I say, mm-hmm. Wait, how did you feel when I said that to you?
I don't pay for them, what I said, but with your smiley face, good job.
But you're responding, and I'm here typing on the computer. Mm-hmm. Yeah. What's that telling you, Margaret? And what's that telling you, Ryan? Okay, what you're saying.
As the female perspective, all the time gets the recognition.
Well, even his was good job, smiley face. Here's our point. Good job, smiley face. We're not validating those students. Right? So if they get the, we're really transparent. We're more, even online, we're more transparent than maybe we think that we are. But there is a void of body language. So a lot of times, if you send something out there and you think, this is good. Some people can take it like, oh, this is pretty loaded. What does this instructor mean by this? Or good job. Good job? Good job about what? So again, these points of contact, right? As we're doing this, we're showing our students, I care about you. Okay? If we don't do it, students are left to tell themselves a story because they don't know what the story is. And usually the story is, I think this instructor hates it, or this instructor doesn't care about it. So to just end up, okay? Build a relationship with your students, right? Whatever that is, personal emails. But seek opportunities for them to facilitate relationships amongst one another, as Mike was suggesting, with you as an instructor. And then 2, validate them. Okay? Yes,
Right.
go ahead, Susan.
Something I did a open house like Tori last was encouraged, and I asked my students, what do you like about instructors? And one thing that they said is those who, like, in their feedback, they can even just take something in quotes that they send and say, like, make a comment about it. And I started to do that, and I find that they make more comments about, like, that I'm passionate about it or that I care about them. So.
Excellent. So it's not just, we're just trying to do these things for the sake of doing them. I mean, we're in a human business, but really it's to get them to engage, to come to the table and to feast abundantly in what we're asking them to do. So thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it.